Welcome, NSG 322, Study Section 1, Introduction to Education and Teaching. Introduction. In this study section, you'll be introduced to the concept of education and how it relates to nursing. Since education is dependent upon a philosophy of life among other considerations, I will explain to you what philosophy is and its function and relationship with education. This will give you a clear picture of nursing education. It will assist you to understand subsequent discussion, learning outcomes. When you have studied this section, you should be able to describe the concept of education, explain the meaning of philosophy, identify the relationship between education and philosophy of education, discuss the relationship between the philosophy of education and philosophy of nursing education. Concept of education. The first thing we are going to do is to define education. According to some learned people, the word education has been derived from the Latin term educatum, which means the art of teaching or training. A group of educationists says that it has come from another Latin word, educare, which means to bring up or to raise. All these meanings indicate that education seeks to nourish the good qualities in man and draw out the best in every individual. Education seeks to develop the innate inner capacities of man. By educating an individual, we attempt to give him some desirable knowledge, understanding, skills, interests, attitudes, and critical thinking. Socrates. Education means the bringing out of the ideas of universal validity which are latent in the mind of every man. Plato. Education is the capacity to feel pleasure and pain at the right moments. It develops in the body and in the soul of the pupil all the beauty and all the perfection which he is capable of. Aristotle. Education is the creation of a sound man in a sound body. It develops man's faculty, especially his mind, so that he may be able to enjoy the contemplation of supreme truths, goodness and beauty of which perfect happiness essentially consists. Weber's dictionary defines education as the process of training and developing knowledge, skill, mind, character, and information, especially by formal schooling or training. Terence J. Hess defined education as the total process of human learning by which knowledge is imparted, facilities trained with skills developed. Mannheim K. defines education as method of influencing human behavior so that it fixes with the prevailing patterns of social interaction and organization. Duhem defines education as the influence exercised by the adult generations on those that are not yet ready for social life. The education draws inspiration and strength from the society and in turn contributes to growth, renewal, and development of that society. Types or forms of education. Education is categorized into formal and informal. Formal one is the Western education, school. Informal is the family, group, community, etc. agencies, homes, schools, communities, and various communication media. The meaning of philosophy. Now let us try and define philosophy. Philosophy is an everyday way of thought used by ordinary people in every walk of life. He who faces happiness and misfortune, prosperity and poverty, health and sickness, with the same inward calm is a philosopher. Some have a purposeful, planned philosophy, either constructive or destructive. Each individual has a philosophy of life. That is, he has a set of standards and ideals which are based on principles that he has chosen as being acceptable. When we talk about philosophy, we are really referring to the thoughts and idea that begins in Asia Minor around 600 BC. The word philosophy comes from the Greek words phileo, which means to love, and Sophia, which means wisdom. Philosophy determines ideas. Culture in all its phases, including philosophy, is transmitted through the institution of education. Human bonds. Psychology or the dealing in human relationship is the basis for education. A recognized of education is to develop the personality of the idea that will best serve as a model for his education. If education is not supported by all that is fine and noble in human nature, it ceases to be education. It descends to the lowly levels of mechanical activity. Religious bonds. Philosophy and education are joined by religious bonds in addition to other bonds. Education realizes its finest expression. Man attains not merely an ordinary philosophy of life in religious education, but a philosophy inspired from on high. Philosophy of education in Nigeria. A nation's policy on education is government's way of realizing that part of the national goals which can achieve using education as a tool. No policy on education, however, can be formulated without first identifying the overall philosophy and goals of the nation. The overall philosophy of Nigeria is to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible, indissoluble, democratic, and sovereign nation founded on the principle of freedom, equality, and justice. Promote inter-African solidarity and world peace through understanding. The 5 main national goals of Nigeria, which have been endorsed as the necessary foundation for the national policy on education, are the building of free and democratic society, a just egalitarian society, a united, strong, and self-reliant nation, a great and dynamic economy, a land full of bright opportunities for all citizens. In Nigeria's philosophy of education, it is believed that education is an instrument for national development, and the interaction of persons and ideas are all aspects of education. Education fosters the worth development of the individual, for each individual's sake and for general development of the society. The training of the mind in the understanding of the world around, the acquisition of appropriate skills and competencies as equipment for the individual to live in and contribute to the development of the society. In consequence, the quality of instruction at all levels has to be oriented towards inculcating the following values: respect for the worth and dignity of the individual, faith in man's ability to make rational decisions, moral and spiritual principle in interpersonal and human relations, shared responsibility for the common good of society, promotion of the physical, emotional, psychological development of all children, acquisition of competencies necessary for self-reliance. In order to realize full potentials of the contributions of education to the achievement of these goals and values, all other agencies will operate in concert with education. To that end, government shall take various measures to implement the policy accordingly. Education shall continue to be highly rated in the national development plans because education is the most important instrument of change. Any fundamental change in the intellectual and social outlook of any society has to be preceded by education. Lifelong education shall be the basis of the nation's educational policy. Education and training facilities shall continue to be expanded in response to social needs and made progressively accessible to afford the individual a far more diversible and flexible choice. Educational activities shall be centered on the learner for maximum self-development and self-fulfillment. Universal basic education in a variety of forms, depending on needs and possibilities, shall be provided for all citizens. Effort shall be made to relate education to overall community needs. Educational assessment and evaluation shall be liberalized by the physical and health education shall be emphasized at all levels of education system. The importance of language. Government appreciates the importance of language as means of promoting social interaction and national cohesion, preserving cultures. Thus, every child shall learn the language of the immediate environment. Furthermore, in the interest of nation unity, it is expedient that every child shall be required to learn one of the 3 Nigerian languages, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. For smooth interaction with our neighbors, it is desirable for every Nigerian to speak French. Accordingly, French shall be compulsory in primary and junior secondary schools, but non-vocational elective at the senior secondary school. Early childhood or pre-primary education. Early childhood or pre-primary education, as referred to in this document, is the giving in an educational institution to children prior to their entering the primary school. It includes the crèche, the nursery, and the kindergarten. The responsibility of government for pre-primary education shall be to promote the training of qualified pre-primary school teachers in adequate number, contribute to the development of suitable curriculum, supervise and control the quality of such institutions, and establish pre-primary sections existing. The purpose of pre-primary education shall be to effect smooth transition from the home to the school, prepare the child for the primary level of education, provide adequate care and supervision for the children while their parents are at work, on the farms, in the market, office, etc. Inculcate social norms. Inculcate in the child the spirit of inquiry, creativity through the exploration of nature, the environment, art, music, and playing with toys. Develop a sense of cooperation and team spirit. Learn good habits, especially good health habits, and teach the rudiments of numbers, letters, colors, shape, forms, etc. through playing. Philosophy of nursing education. Since education is the outgrowth of philosophic beliefs, a philosophy of nursing education is the application of these fundamental beliefs to the field of nursing education. Therefore, philosophy of nursing education formulates the nursing curriculum, its nature, and the end that it seeks to achieve. Every phase of nursing education will be influenced by the philosophy upon which it is based. This philosophy will determine the selection of students, the preparation of faculty, the development of the curriculum, attitudes towards patients and community, and the personal life and the professional growth of every member of the student body and the faculty. A philosophy of nursing education must be specified about specialized functional roles and the responsibility of the professional nurse within and to society. Philosophy of nursing education encompasses a philosophy of nursing as well as a philosophy of education. In a philosophy of education, emphasis is placed on the student's objectives and means necessary to educate the student. In a philosophy of nursing, the emphasis is placed on the patient's objectives and means necessary to give nursing care to the patient. Thus, a philosophy of nursing education must consider both, since the purpose of nursing education is to prepare as a person who can fulfill the role, functions, and the responsibilities of the professional nurse within and to society. Aims of education or nursing education. The National Education Policy aims at eradicating any existing contradiction, ambiguities, and lack of uniformity in educational practice. It also aims at ensuring an even and orderly development throughout the Federation. The goal is to fashion out the education pattern that will be relevant to the needs of individuals as well as that of the society. The aim of nursing education is to produce efficient nurse practitioners who should be skillful and intellectually sound to cope with the ever-changing societal needs. Prepare students to care for individuals throughout their lifespan using current evidence-based practice. Ensure that the student learns to form partnership with the individual, families, and communities to improve health and influence nursing practice and healthcare policy. Equip graduate practitioners with knowledge, abilities, and work behaviors to provide safe and compassionate nursing care. Similarities and differences between education and nursing education. Philosophy of nursing education is derived from philosophy of education in Nigeria. Nigerian philosophy of education is based on the integration of the individual into a sound and effective citizen and equal educational opportunities for all citizens at all levels. The philosophy is in line with the national objectives, focusing on self-realization between human relationship, individual, and national efficiency, effective citizenship, national consciousness, national unity, cultural economy, political, scientific, and technological progress. The philosophy of nursing education, which is derived from that of national philosophy, believes that holistic approach is the most appropriate medium for nursing intervention. The consumer of healthcare should be assisted to maintain a healthy lifestyle through active participation in self-activities at all levels of healthcare. Nursing is science based on knowledge of behavior that interprets the adaptation process of clients to changes in the environment by using such as the nursing process and providing intervention measures relevant to clients' needs. The philosophy is in line with the following objectives: ability to utilize nursing process to identify and solve health problems through intersectoral multidisciplinary approach, ability to perform nursing techniques with a high level of skills, ability to utilize principles from other sciences such as biological, physics, social science, and the provision of comprehensive nursing care to families and communities. Ability to contribute to interdisciplinary research by participating in planned program of study. Ability to collaborate with other members of health team in meeting the needs of clients through utilization of managerial knowledge. Ability to mobilize and encourage community participation in identification and solving community health problems. Concepts central to philosophy of nursing education include patients. The patient is seen as an individual to receive holistic care. The nurse provides care which integrates physiological and spiritual aspects of the person's life. Environment. The environment consists of the objects and conditions external to the patient, which affect their development. This includes individual and family relationships, cultures, and the resources available in the home and community. Nursing focuses on positively influencing the human-environment relationship. Health. Health is viewed as very level of wellness the patients experience throughout their lifespan. Nursing focuses on health promotion, maintenance, and restoration to ensure the patient attains and maintains optimal level of health. Communication. The nurse and the patient interact in verbal, non-verbal, and written forms of communication. Effective communication is essential for the development of a goal-directed, open relationship with patients, families, and members of the healthcare team. Caring. The nurse must care and nurture herself as well as the patient and family. Caring is the central theme of nursing. Caring involves providing comfort, compassion, and support to the patients and their family. Nursing education is the instrument in which students learn the nursing process, transforming them into an instrument of care for patients, families, and community, regardless of ethnicity, poverty, or gender. Nursing education occurs in an environment of scholarly inquiry based on learner-centered philosophies and learning strategies with higher order thinking and outcomes. The student is prepared to care about and care for individuals throughout their lifespan, using current evidence-based practice. The nursing focus is healthy lifestyle and prevention of illness and injury. The student learns to form partnership with the individual, families, and communities to improve health and influence nursing practice and healthcare policy. The student is expected to graduate as a practitioner with knowledge, abilities, and work behaviors to provide safe and compassionate nursing care. Nursing education, which includes service, learning, community engagement, and leadership, provides the nurse with skills necessary to transform the health of the region, nation, and the world. Study section summary. In this study section, you have learned that education is the systematic influence exerted by the mature person upon the immature through instruction. It is the process of imparting knowledge onto others according to an accepted standard. You have also learned that education is dependent upon a philosophy of life. Philosophy is a study of the principle of being, the origin, the nature, and the activities of what at is. It investigates the causes and reason for all things. Since all education is the outgrowth of philosophical beliefs, and the philosophy of nursing education is the application of these fundamental beliefs to the field of nursing education. The student nurses through nursing education learn to form partnership with the individual, families, and communities to improve health and influence nursing practice and healthcare policies. We've come to the end of study section 1. Thank you for listening.